Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to the September 30th Montgomery County Council meeting. I just want to say again what an amazing Hispanic Heritage Month celebration we had, and again thank my colleagues, Councilmember Albanaz and Fanny Gonzalez, so much for that. All right, we're back for our public hearings this afternoon. Our first agenda item is number 4, is a public hearing on Bill 28-25, Motor Vehicles and Traffic Parking in Bikeways Prohibited. This bill would prohibit the standing, stopping, or parking of vehicles in bikeways and generally amend the law regarding motor vehicles and traffic in the county. A Transportation and Environment Committee work session is scheduled for October 6, 2025. Those wishing to submit material for the Council's consideration should do so by the close of business today. As a reminder of our public hearing testimony guidelines, your comments must be limited to issues relevant to the public hearing topic for which you are testifying and are appropriate for a public meeting. You will hear a tone when your time is up, and we appreciate everyone abiding by their allotted time. I will take the first 5 speakers who are here in person. I have Seth Grimes, Mindy Baden, Lawrence Soler, Bill Pugh, who's also speaking on item number 5, and Tomas Cresina. And Mr. Grimes, you can start when you are ready.
Good afternoon. I am Seth Grimes. I am representing the Washington Area Bicyclist Association. It's a pleasure to be here with you again. I am testifying in support of Bill 2825, which would establish a prohibition on stopping, standing, or parking in a bikeway by a motor vehicle. This is a safety measure. When a bike lane is blocked, bicyclists and scooter riders are forced into traffic lanes where they are less safe and where they also slow vehicular traffic. This is an actual issue in Montgomery County. I attached photos to my written testimony so you can take a look at them. Taken in Montgomery County, the photos are actually in Bethesda of trucks and cars parked in cycle tracks despite concrete barriers that set these off from the street. These are bicycling facilities that Montgomery County has spent millions of dollars to create in order to create safer streets, and the facilities are being abused by people who should be parked elsewhere. So we do urge Montgomery County Department of Transportation to work to find loading solutions, for instance, with the Bethesda Urban District. The operative text of this bill is simple. It is a 3-word addition on any bikeway to Montgomery County Code. It goes after 10 existing conditions. A person may not stop, stand, or park say a person may not stop, stand, or park a vehicle. These include on a sidewalk, at a crosswalk, and so on. This is not a draconian bill. This bill would have existing exclusions in Montgomery County law that apply to the other 10 provisions. I will also note that Rockville, the city that is, Howard County, City of Baltimore have the same prohibition on stopping, standing, or parking in a bike lane. And so does Washington, D.C. and the state of Virginia. So you wouldn't be breaking any ground. And I have put code references in my written testimony. And Prince George's County Council member Eric Olson, who chairs their transportation committee, has introduced a similar bill in Prince George's. That is the end of my WABA testimony. I will say a few words for people who can't be here. One is my Tacoma Park neighbor, Nancy Siegel. Nancy writes, I am a Montgomery County resident cyclist and spouse of an avid cyclist and a concerned citizen. This issue especially hits home for me following the death of my sister-in-law last year after her bicycle collided with a UPS truck unexpectedly parked halfway in a car lane while making a delivery. This occurred on a rural road in Colorado, not a formal bike lane, but exemplifies the risk of removing barriers that would prevent trucks from pulling over and blocking a road or bike lane. Dan Langenkamp, I spoke to last night, you all know him, expressed a similar view. His wife was killed on River Road 2 years ago. He said that he was visiting her crash site just a few weeks ago and could not help but notice that there were not 1 but 2 vehicles parked in the bike lane just feet from where she was killed. This is a safety measure, and I urge you to enact it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we'll have Ms. Baden.
Hello, Council President Stewart, Vice President Giwando, and members of the County Council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this afternoon. I'm here to testify in support of Bill 2825, which would prohibit vehicles from parking in bike lanes. When this bill was introduced in Bethesda on July 28th, both the Washington Area Bicyclist Association and the Action Committee for Transit spoke about the importance of keeping these bike lanes clear of vehicles. Montgomery County has invested significantly in its bikeways, but those investments only work if the bike lanes are clear and usable. Too often, vehicles stand, stop, or park in those lanes, forcing bicyclists into travel lanes with motor vehicles and risking collisions and potential serious injury. There might be some inconvenience for delivery drivers, but the safety of our bicyclists outweighs convenience. What's the point of even having protected bike lanes if vehicles are blocking them and the bicyclists are forced to veer into the traffic lanes? Since my son Brett died almost 6 years ago while crossing the street, I've been advocating for safer roads. That advocacy extends to my own driving habits. I follow the speed limits, and I'm always on the lookout for pedestrians, bicyclists, and non-motorists. Even so, danger can arise unexpectedly. One day last month, I was driving in Rockville. I turned left from Park Road onto Route 355, and even being hyper-vigilant about looking out for non-motorists, I almost missed seeing a bicyclist that was going straight through that intersection. That experience solidified my position that we must do everything we can to protect our bicyclists. Allowing vehicles to block bike lanes and force the bicyclist into traffic cannot be an option. These lanes need to be kept clear. I urge you to pass Bill 2825 into law. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Lawrence Solar.
Good afternoon.
Can you, Mr. put your mic on?
There you go.
Perfect.
Good afternoon, Chair Stewart and council members. My name is Larry Solar. I grew up in Silver Spring, graduated from Springbrook High School, and now reside in Bethesda. I'm testifying in strong support of Bill 2825, establishing a prohibition on stopping, standing, or parking of vehicles in bikeways. I want to recognize the bill's sponsor, Council Member Glass, and co-sponsors Lutke, I hope I pronounced that correctly, Friedson, and Fanny Gonzalez. I want to share a brief story. I was able to attend the kickoff press event for this legislation in North Bethesda a few months ago. While cycling home from the event on bike lanes, I encountered a large commercial vehicle that was parked in the lanes and blocked its entire width from the curb to the plastic bollards. This was near an intersection with the 270 spur, which is an area that requires extra care. As an experienced bike rider, I was able to maneuver into a busy lane of traffic, take the lane, and then merge back in front of the parked vehicle on the bike lanes. This is very challenging for the bulk of bike riders who aren't as experienced in sharing lanes with fast-moving cars. An additional challenge is that cars are not prepared for this sort of maneuver since they assume that if there are bike lanes, bikes won't be in traffic. Blocked bike lanes are not an unusual occurrence. It happens nearly every other time I ride in Montgomery County bike lanes. My neighborhood is home to the family of two boys, Jacob Cassell and Enzo Alvarenga, Jacob and Enzo, who were riding their bikes on sidewalks next to a busy road and killed by vehicles in two separate incidents. Following their deaths, bike lanes were installed. According to a State Highway Administration report that compared crashes before and after the bike lanes were installed, 5 pedestrians and 1 individual riding a bike were injured and 1 person on a bike was killed in the months before the lanes were installed. In the months after the lanes were installed, there were no pedestrians or bike injuries. Members of the council, this legislation is an urgently needed way to enforce common sense. Bike lanes are not parking lots. I encourage you to support it.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Tomas Kresna.
Hello. My name's Tomas. I'm here to testify in support of Bill 2825. I grew up in Germantown and went to college in Boston. I bike to get to school, get to work, get groceries, run errands. And I think everyone here today have a couple shared goals: to reduce traffic, to improve people's lives, and for those of you in front of me, presumably to win re-election. And to do that, we need to get people out of their vehicles and onto ride-on, onto the metro, onto their bikes, and onto their feet. People like myself prefer to bike for short trips rather than use a car. When I have safe bike lanes to use, I am one less car on the road. However, when cars stop and park in these bike lanes, bikes have to go somewhere else, either into the road, as many have described, or onto the sidewalk. I wear a GoPro because of the risks involved with merging into fast-moving traffic. Those are not cheap, but it has paid for itself at least 5 times over. So I think a lot of us have a nostalgia for the days of when children biked to school or when they were out and about in their neighborhood. My question is, how can we expect them to do so when we don't provide them the built environment to achieve that? Right? A driver's convenience cannot come at the cost of others' safety and ability to use the roadway. As biking is made inconvenient and unsafe, people are forced back into their cars, traffic gets worse, and most importantly, people lose the freedom to choose how to get around. Again, we all want to reduce traffic and improve people's quality of life. A bike lane that people can park in, either by bad design or bad enforcement, is not a bike lane, it's a parking spot. So again, I urge your support of this legislation, but paired with good design that passively protects people like myself from cars, and then also good enforcement that just keeps the lanes clear. Bike lanes help me to arrive alive. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Now I have Bill Pugh, who's also speaking on item 5. So you have 5 minutes.
Good afternoon, President Stewart and council members. My name is Bill Pugh. I'm the Transportation and Climate Director with the Coalition for Smarter Growth. The coalition supports Council Bill 2825, parking in bikeways prohibited, and we respectfully ask your approval. This common sense fix to county code is overdue. We applaud Councilmember Glass and the bill co-sponsors for introducing this needed legislation. The county's been making progress towards more comfortable, convenient, and safer biking with its network of bike lanes, trails, cycle tracks, and these investments deserve a clear law that bike lanes are not for parking or stopping cars and trucks. I'm also personally supportive of this as a longtime DMV area bike commuter. So again, this bill, or just to add one more thing, the bill supports the county's general plan, Montgomery County Thrive Montgomery 2050, which recommends developing a safe, comfortable, and appealing network for walking, biking, and rolling. We thank you for your work and ask you to vote for the bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Pugh, did you want to speak to item 5 too, or is that, you can do that right now?
Oh, should I
Yeah,
do that now?
Just so you don't have to come back up.
Okay, will do.
All right.
Thank you again for the opportunity to speak. Speaking on the Clarksburg Montgomery Village Transportation Study, we're glad to see that the county is going to study the mobility needs in the up-county. And as a precursor, the Coalition for Smarter Growth also thanks you for removing the M83 northern section from the county's master plan of highways. This would have been a very expensive and also destructive and ultimately unnecessary road expansion in the up-county. And it is smart to study how the county will meet the needs in that part of Montgomery. So our main ask is that you prioritize transit, walking, biking, travel demand management, and land use solutions in the study. We know from decades of research that wider and expanded highways and arterials don't solve congestion. Instead, they make people drive more and lead to more cars on the roads over time. So we think the up-county transportation study would benefit looking at these options. And these would include things like improving the use of ride-on services and expanding them. These are things that can be implemented without delay. Transit, walking, and biking improvements, and making sure that their funding doesn't depend on highway expansions, such as the op lanes. And then on the other side with land use, making sure that there are complete street grids and better connected subdivisions. We know that people will continue to need to drive, but those trips should be made shorter and more convenient. Better land use planning, prioritizing new development, near transit, interconnected neighborhoods, those can give people shorter trips when they do need to drive. And then looking at more robust travel demand management strategies, and ultimately in the longer term, a 355 BRT line that addresses these needs and has funding that can advance. So again, we thank you for this study and ask that you prioritize transit and other alternatives so that up-county residents aren't stuck in their cars. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you to our first panel. We have two other speakers for this in person, David Jaworski and Daniel Langenkamp. Oh, Daniel's not, I didn't see him. Okay, so he's not coming. All right, then, Mr. Jaworski, you are our last in-person speaker for this item.
Good afternoon. Hi, I'm David Jaworski, and I'm a resident of the East County. I've been an avid cyclist all my life, and I've been using the roads and the bike lanes in the east part of the county, and they're not as nice, I know, as the western part of the county. We don't have very many isolated, separated lanes most of the time. As Kristen, you and Evan, you were both in Burtonsville the other day, and for the celebration we had, and you can see the bike lanes that I actually have to travel on a daily basis. And I've been actually, I'm lucky to be here because I've been run off the road twice in my time living in Montgomery County. Both times because my rear view mirror on my helmet, I was able to see a person coming over and actually almost hitting me. I was able to go off the road and not be hit. So this bill is really important to me because, and other times, about once a week, I actually have a vehicle that's parked in front of me as I'm coming down a bike lane, and I have to go out in the traffic. And in most cases, where we live in East County, there is no sidewalk usually go off. It's usually either into the woods or into somebody's front yard. And in that case, I have to go out on the road, and lots of times I have to stop because there's so much traffic coming by and going very fast that I'm not able to get around. And so it's a really serious safety issue. So I really recommend you pass this bill to prevent vehicles, at least, from parking on the sides in the bike lanes, even though all bike lanes, not just the ones that are separated. I know that's an issue on the western side of the county. So I really appreciate your effort in this. And also, please look at trying to put better bike lanes on the east side. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Those are all the in-person testimony we have today. We have next a virtual participant, Keenan Sprague on Zoom. You can start when you're ready.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Wonderful. Good morning, Chair Stewart and County Council. My name is Kenneth Sprague. I'm a resident of Silver Spring. I'm testifying today in support of Council Bill 2825. I'd like to echo many of the previous comments made. Bike lanes must be free of car parking for the safety of cyclists and to fulfill the original purpose of bike lanes, which is to filter traffic and provide safe alternatives to driving for transportation. Many people in Montgomery County and the DMV in general are facing financial difficulty in the face of high housing costs, federal job losses, and bouts of inflation, to name a few, in the last several years. And AAA estimates that annual car ownership and usage costs total nearly $9,000 per year on average, almost a decade ago, and costs have only risen since. For many households, this is their second largest cost. In contrast, operating a bike costs only a couple of $100s a year, and this second, vastly more affordable option is much less feasible for Montgomery County residents if it comes to the cost of safety. And these blockages of bike lanes, unfortunately, are that cost of safety. So, to conclude, I urge the Council to vote yes on this bill in order to continue down a path of unlocking equitable and affordable transportation options for all residents of Montgomery County. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I believe that is our last speaker that we have with us. So this public hearing is now closed. We'll now move on to agenda item number 5, which is a public hearing on a resolution to approve a special appropriation to the FY26 operating budget, Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Commission, Clarksburg to Montgomery Village Corridor Transportation Study in the amount of $100,000 The source of the funds is General Fund Undesignated Reserves, a joint Transportation and Environment Committee and Government Operations and Fiscal Policy Committee. Work session is scheduled for October 16, 2025. Those wishing to submit material for the council's consideration should do so by the close of business on October 9th, 2025. As a reminder of our public hearing testimony guidelines, your comments must be limited to issues relevant to the public hearing topic for which you are testifying and are appropriate for a public meeting. You will hear a tone when your time is up, and we appreciate everyone abiding by their allotted time. Our first 5 speakers are Diane Cameron, Margaret Shope, Jeanette Rosenbaum, Carl Held, and Paula Ross. Okay, and Diane, you can start when you're ready.
Good afternoon. For this proposed transportation study, I ask that you put transit first. And I join with my colleagues in thanking you for voting on July 29th to remove the proposed M83 highway northern section from the Master Plan of Highways and Transitways. Doing this enables us to put transit first for this up-county corridor. I want to note that this is National Week Without Driving, and this is challenging those of us who have the option to drive to experience the barriers that non-drivers face, as we just heard in the previous hearing, and to experience the barriers and to work with non-drivers to create more accessible communities for all. In order to put transit first, this study must do 3 things. It must provide a clear statement of the need. It must recommend how best to meet the need. And we must collaborate with our neighbor to the north, Frederick County. This study needs to outline the needs of different demographic groups in this corridor and to quantify their mobility needs. This includes workers commuting to jobs, students, senior citizens, and people with disabilities. As a couple of examples, most seniors stop or reduce their driving in their mid-70s, which happens to be when car insurance rates go up for them. The portion of Montgomery's population in this age bracket is increasing. Also, people with disabilities must be highlighted in this study. As an example that was in the national news, in 2020, county resident Jeremy King of Germantown had his wheelchair retrofitted with a baby stroller so that he could take his baby for a walk while he was in his wheelchair. And this was designed and built by students at the Bullis School and received national acclaim. And this is indeed a wonderful thing. And this study, I believe, should really examine the needs of people with disabilities so that people who are in wheelchairs or have difficulty walking have safe streets for them to get around in. And we can't assume that is so. We need to really delve in and make sure that streets are safe for people with impaired ability to walk. We also, I guess I'm almost out of time, but in terms of our neighbor to the north, I have 2 very quick examples. The Mark Brunswick line has a spur that goes to Frederick, and we could work with Frederick County to increase access to that, and also to provide bi-county bus service on Route 355. Thank you.
Thank you. Margaret Shope?
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Margaret Shope, and I'm here for the TAME Coalition, Transit Alternatives to Mid-County Highway Extended. We are in full favor of this special appropriations study on transportation in the Up-County between Clarksburg and Montgomery Village. In preparing for this public hearing, I have reviewed TAME Coalition's many testimonies given to the Council over the past 15 years. And each time we have requested transit alternatives for funding, and also for implementing. We ask that this study focus on 5 things, and I'm going to just bring 3 of them to you regarding transit alternatives. One is to maintain and expand the 3 existing transit networks we have now: Ride-on Bus, MARC Train, and even the Red Line at Shady Grove. We ask that you continue to provide maintenance for all of them and expand as much as possible. These are great mobility choices for the Up-County. Also, TAME Coalition is in support and partnership with Action Committee for Transit for 2 things. One is more frequent buses along the planned BRT routes, and also to support and fund particularly 2 midday MARC trains. CSX has agreed for these 2 middays trains, but the state has not funded them, and we ask that you put them in the priorities letter. Also, it would be great to see the Ride-on Express Route 101 go clear up to Clarksburg, just like the one on Route 40 between Wheaton and Rockville. It's in every 15 minutes, it stays on the state road, and there is no meandering through neighborhoods. I've got a minute. Also, please put a couple things into the study. One is remembering that we again can't say it enough. Thank you for removing M83, the northern section, from the Master Plan of Highways. We appreciate the county executive supporting that, and also all 5 planning board members. We also are very grateful for a free fare on Ride-On. We appreciate Thrive Montgomery 2050, the Climate Action Plan, the Complete Streets documents. But somewhere between the council's vote and the implementation of these excellent bills, sometimes things break down and don't get finished the way that they were planned in the bill. We are asking the county government and the county council to follow through in implementing this transit study in the Up-County, and we will follow the progress with you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Next, we have Jeanette Rosenbaum.
Good afternoon, County Council. I'm Jeanette Rosenbaum. I live in the Lake Forest neighborhood of Montgomery Village. You're familiar with the massive redevelopment project happening in my neighborhood. In that project, we are not preserving the lake, the forest, or the mall, which were 3 things people really liked about Lake Forest Mall. What are we preserving? The transit center. I think that tells you something about how important transit is to the community. In addition to the transit center, there are also regular bus stops all over the neighborhood. I always see people at those bus stops. I wish I were one of them. Before I moved to Montgomery Village 7 years ago, I lived in Wisconsin. I rode the bus. Before that, I grew up in the suburbs of New York City. I rode the bus. When I moved to Montgomery Village, I immediately looked for whether I could ride the bus to get to work. The answer was, I could not. It was only 4 miles. But on the bus, it would have taken an hour. Last week, I checked whether the routes and schedules have gotten better in the past 7 years. The answer is it would still take about 40 minutes just to get to the west side of Gaithersburg. Gaithersburg has 70,000 people now. Montgomery Village has 40,000. Both are continuing to grow. We are the Up-County, but we are not the rural area of the Up-County. The transit we have now is not enough and will not be enough to keep up with MWCOG's projection of more than 30% additional population growth by 2045. We need to expand our transit system. Thank you for voting to remove M83 from the master plans. Now, let's finish the job. Let's make a plan for transit alternatives. I support this supplemental budget for studying transit in the Up-County. Our growing community needs more buses and shorter wait times at our well-used bus stops and transit centers. Let's make it happen. Thank you for your continuing work to improve travel in Montgomery County.
Thank you. Next, we have Carl Held.
Good afternoon. My name is Carl Held, and I'm testifying on behalf of the Climate Coalition of Montgomery County. We are a coalition of 19 member organizations, and we support this comprehensive study of travel needs and transportation capacity along the corridor. I also want to echo my co-speakers here that we do support the decision to remove M83 from the master plan, and we hope that puts the focus more on transit for this study. We'd like the transit study to really focus on people-centric transportation, which really is the top priority of maintaining and expanding public transit options and supporting increased safety for walking and cycling. You are all familiar with the Climate Action Plan. Let me point out a couple things that align with what you're going to do in this study. First of all, the transportation chapter points out several actions that need to happen for us to meet the goals of the Climate Plan. One is expanding transit service to double the amount of passenger trips taken, with nearly 100% of residents able to connect to with a reasonable time and distance to a high-frequency transit stop. Second of all, decreasing the amount of private passenger miles traveled, thereby reducing road traffic. And third of all, transition to electric vehicles from fossil fuel powered vehicles. So to accomplish these upgrades, we really recommend that the county and the planning department expand the existing public transit that already serves the Up County, which includes more ride-on bus routes that are accessible to residents of the neighborhood, making sure that the Red Line runs frequently at Shady Grove, and also that additional train service be put on the MARC train Brunswicks at the stations at Germantown and Boyd's. So we want to recommend that you push forward with the county's bus rapid transit plan for Route 35 BRT North section, and that you restructure the local bus network to feed into that 355 BRT, and immediately, as much as possible, increase the frequency of ride-on buses that are really needed right now, as you testified. There's also a study that you should take account of. There's a 2024 Montgomery County DOTS report called Ride On Reimagined, which you may have heard of, that proposes a host of changes on county line buses that I think you should pay attention, that this planning department should pay attention to. So in summary, I just want to point out that the climate sane transportation focus should be on improved and expanded transit with walkable and bikeable communities, helping to reduce traffic congestion and meeting residents' daily needs for their mobility. Thanks very much for your efforts to advance transportation solutions for the corridor.
Thank you. Next, we have Paula Ross.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Council President Stewart. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today. I'm Paula Ross, CEO of the Gaithersburg Germantown Chamber of Commerce, otherwise known as GGCC. Our chamber represents over 450 businesses along the upper I-270 corridor, and on behalf of these members, I'm here to strongly support the special appropriation to fund the Clarksburg to Montgomery Village Corridor Transportation Study, as recommended in the 2025 technical update to the Master Plan of Highways and Transitways. It was disappointing that this council chose the unprecedented step of removing the unbuilt section of M83 from the Master Plan of Highways and Transitways. There was a strong reason why M83 was included in our network of roads and transportation capacity when considering overall connectivity needs for the county, and specifically in the Up County. The need for this connectivity has not diminished. It will only increase as Clarksburg grows and as Montgomery Village undergoes significant redevelopment, especially the Lake Forest Mall site. Road capacity is critical in the Up County to connect these burgeoning town centers. Commerce thrives when people can easily get to these centers of commerce, not just to commute to jobs, but to get to local restaurants, shops, and to other businesses. We need a direct connection from Snowden Farm Parkway in Clarksburg to the Shady Grove Metro and the ICC to improve mobility and access to jobs. Thank you to Councilmember Balcom for introducing this special appropriation and to begin the process of addressing the Up County's much-needed road infrastructure. And thank you to Councilmember Lutke and Friedson for co-sponsoring. I urge the full council to support the $100,000 special appropriation for this transportation study. And I want to emphasize that this is a transportation study appropriation. Transit is certainly a piece, but in the Up County where I live on the edge of Clarksburg and Germantown, and where I work, we also need road projects that will build, road projects that have continually been delayed by our county government that we desperately need. The Up County has different needs than other urban core centers of the county, and I urge you to look deeply into that. Thank you. And while I'm here, I also, I know that Mayor Judd Ashman is in the room. I want to throw the Chamber's support for the MOU between the City of Gaithersburg and the county for transportation projects. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to everyone who is here in person to speak to this item. We will now go to our virtual participants, and we have Barku Bishno.
Hi, is my audio coming through fine?
Yes, we can hear you.
Great. Well, good afternoon. My name is Barka Bishnoi, and I attend Richard Montgomery High School. As president of my school's climate club, I work to advance greener school buildings and transportation, which I hope to eventually continue through a future in environmental policy. But today, I am in favor of the proposed transportation study for the Clarksburg to Montgomery Village corridor. I support the TAME Coalition's emphasis on maintaining and expanding transit systems in the Up County. For many students, public transportation is essential. Every day, I see classmates boarding ride-on buses to get to and from school and after-school jobs and extracurriculars. For the many students who don't have a parent available to drive them during the workday and cannot drive themselves, transit is what makes education and after-school opportunities accessible to all. And as a student in the International Baccalaureate program at RM, where students come from all across the county, public transportation is crucial. School bus routes don't reach everywhere, with students often still requiring additional transportation to get to school. For myself, the closest school bus stop is over 2 miles away from my home, while the nearest ride-on bus stop at Shady Grove is easily walkable. And as a former Clarksburg resident, I've noticed the disparity in transit use in Clarksburg compared to Rockville. When Clarksburg and other places up county have improved connectivity, more people will choose transit. Ride-on bus services must be expanded to meet this up county need. And with school buses over capacity and taking long, winding routes, ride-on buses offer students a faster and more direct option. While ride-on routes serve parts of the Up County, no single bus route runs directly from Bethesda to Clarksburg, and one of the biggest gaps is along Route 355. Extending the ride-on route Extra 101 on Route 355 all the way to Clarksburg would make taking the bus more convenient for students and other residents. This improvement can be done quickly, and this would strengthen transit access without the high costs of bus rapid transit. But I also want to recognize the progress we've already made. Ride-on buses are now fare-free, ridership is increasing, and the county has chosen to move beyond outdated highway expansion with the removal of M83 northern section from the master plan. These are steps in the right direction toward a future where public transit advances equity, opportunity, and sustainability for both students and all residents in Montgomery County. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, we have Evan Fernando.
Hi, can you hear me properly?
Yes, we can.
All right, thank you. Good afternoon, council members. I am Evan Fernando, a junior at Watkinsville High School and currently a part of the IB program. Additionally, I am the president of our EcoMoco chapter. I would like to begin by expressing my appreciation for your vote to strike the northern 5-mile portion of M83 from the Master Plan of Highways and Transitways 10-1. Over the summer, I had the opportunity to provide testimony in support of this decision, pointing to the necessity to redirect funds to more sustainable and equitable alternatives, like public transit. I live in Damascus, where we are serviced by weekday buses that operate on a regular 30-minute schedule. While others may insist that residents in up-county communities like Damascus and Clarksburg do not use transit as much, I can assure you from personal experience that it is simply not the case. I support the expansion of the ride-on bus service to the Up County, including expanding the existing ride on Route 90, Shady Grove to Damascus, to provide weekend service. As a student who relies on Route 90 to get to Damascus following school, I can assure you that public transportation is an integral aspect of my existence. In fact, I drafted this testimony on my way home on the bus. But the catch is, if I had missed a bus, I would be waiting for an extended period of time for the next one. Connecting buses in our communities just do not run frequently enough. Why can't we have buses arriving every 15 minutes like on other routes in the county? Don't all residents deserve access to reliable public transportation equally, regardless of where they live within Montgomery County? When I catch the bus or wait on a metro platform, I'm not merely thinking of how to get from point A to point B. I'm thinking about the people I'm riding with. Every commuter has a tale, everyone a path. Some are heading home, others to start their day. Public transportation is not just a means to an end from A to B. It is a mirror of what our society holds dear, the richness of our experience and our promise as a collective. I hope that in our efforts to build a more inclusive and sustainable Montgomery County, we can prioritize affordable public transportation for all our residents. Thank you for your consideration and for taking into account the needs of all sectors of our community.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next, we have Grace Chi.
Good afternoon. Can you guys hear me well?
Yes, we can hear you, Chi. Ms. Chi, sorry.
Okay. Good afternoon, County Council. My name is Grace Chi, and I'm a current sophomore at Poulsville High School. As a frequently commuting student, I strongly urge you all to approve the Clarksburg to Montgomery Village Corridor Transportation Study. I reside in the Quince Orchard/Gaithersburg area and frequently use Ride-On to get to and from a variety of places, whether that may be using the 56 Lake Forest Station bus to go to 55 Rockville Station, to get to Carver Education Services Center, to attend mandatory regional SGA meetings, or the 78 bus to get to the Shady Grove Metro Station, then riding the 71 bus to my friend's house in Clarksburg because she needs help on a project, or even riding the 56 Lake Forest, then getting onto the 55 Germantown bus to study with friends at the Germantown Library. I've had my fair share of trips on the Ride-On and wholeheartedly plan on continuing that. With the more trips I've taken, the more I've familiarized myself with frequent faces, such as the mom and the elementary school-aged daughter, who I always see on the 56 Lake Forest bus at around 4:30, the elderly man with the Aldi shopping bag I see on Fridays on the 55 Germantown bus, and the friendly face on the 78 Shady Grove bus that always asks me about my day at around 3. I would like to thank you all for working towards making transportation more equitable with free transits on the Ride-On. This investment has eased the lives of many who rely on Ride-On as their main mode of transportation. But at the same time, with the more trips I've taken, the more I've noticed the lack of ride-on options in the upper parts of our county in comparison to the lower and more central areas. Furthermore, trips from Clarksburg to any other part of the county takes an average of 40 minutes to an hour depending on the distance. For instance, a trip from the Cabin Branch neighborhood in Clarksburg to the County Council office building would take an hour and 25 minutes by ride-on, but only 20 minutes by car. Yet many individuals may not have access to a car, such as the elderly, students like me who have yet to get a license or even a permit, or those who simply cannot afford to buy a car. This study would be the first stride towards investing in more geographically equitable public transportation options for everyone in our county and allowing those in the upper parts of our county to have efficient transportation options. Therefore, I strongly advise the County Council to approve the Clarksburg to Montgomery Village corridor transportation study to ensure everyone in our county, regardless of where they live, can have adequate access to public transport. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Lorena Wu.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Oh, we're getting a bit of an echo,
great.
Ms. Wu.
Good afternoon, County Council members. My name is Lorena Wu, and I'm a sophomore at Poulsville High School. I serve as the co-president of EcoMoco, the largest student-led environmental nonprofit in Montgomery County and an international organization that engages students through environmental advocacy, education, and stewardship. Along with other EcoMoco members, I witnessed your vote on July 29th that removed the proposed M83 highway from the Master Plan of Highways and Transitways. Thank you for protecting our forests and streams and enabling a shift to focus on transit. Today, I'm here to testify in support of the proposed comprehensive study of up-county travel needs and Master Plan transportation capacity. We need improved transportation choices for all residents, including youth and those who do not drive. This study must focus on improving existing transit networks, including ride-on-bus routes on existing roads, and avoiding new highways and highway expansions. For this study, as for all of your transportation decisions, you must put transit first because of the negative implications that the construction of new highways have, including the promotion of increased car travel and greenhouse gas emissions, which further burden the environment of all county residents. As a student who lives in Germantown, yet goes to school in Poolesville, I have a half-hour commute each way to school every day. Many of my friends and classmates have even longer commutes, sometimes upwards of an hour. Despite many of Poolesville students taking the school buses to and from school, there are also many who utilize public transit. Those who have an extra period at the end of the day, which ends at around 3:15, yet do not want to take the school-provided 4:30 bus after their study hall, are able to take the ride-on bus, which arrives at 3:45 next to the school. This study must consider that many youth in Montgomery County depend on both ride-on buses and MCPS buses to travel between school and home. Whether it's to the library, to an Eco-Moco meeting, to an extracurricular activity, or even to hang out with friends at a local cafe, public transportation has been a vital factor for my success and happiness. Your decision earlier this year to make ride-on buses fare-free is incredibly helpful for students, so I would like to commend you for this positive change for transit riders. However, more work must be done for the reform of our transit system through this transportation study. A specific need that we asked this transportation study to examine is more bus shelters to protect residents from heat waves and intense rains caused by climate disruption. Currently, only 14% of ride-on bus stops in Montgomery County are sheltered or have plans to be sheltered. We ask for this study to consider what it would take to double this and provide shelter for around 1/3 of ride-on bus stops. Please consider my words when advocating for the proposed comprehensive study of up-county travel needs. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Siddharth Harishankar.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, great. So, hello, council members. My name is Siddharth Harishankar, and I'm a sophomore at Poolesville High School, as well as the Eco-Moco treasurer. I'm here to speak today because transportation is key. I take buses all the time, and they are an essential tool for students and adults. It is critical that we expand these programs and create new bus routes, especially in the Clarksburg cluster. From a student's perspective, reliable transportation is not optional. It affects our ability to participate in extracurriculars. It helps us build friendships and even hold jobs. Last year, I attempted to join Musty, a dance group based in Clarksburg. What should have been an 11-minute trip took over an hour and 20 minutes by bus. That was unreasonable, and as a result, I had to drop the activity. As a student of Poolesville's Global Ecology Program, I have classmates and friends from across the county, many of them living in Clarksburg. Yet, I often cannot make plans or attend events at their homes because the bus ride is just too long. For students like me, this creates a barrier to opportunities and a sense of separation within my own community. This issue is also about equity. Many students do not have the access to a car, and without effective buses, they are cut off from the chances to explore extracurriculars, internships, and part-time jobs. Expanding bus routes would level the playing field and allow every student the same opportunity to grow outside the classroom. The ecological impacts of buses are just as important. Public transportation has been proven to reduce carbon emissions. The Kansas City Transportation Authority found that households could reduce their carbon footprint by 30% if they use public transportation. But keep in mind, that is only possible if it's truly accessible and efficient for residents. Montgomery County has always been a pioneer in environmental justice. Increasing funding for our bus routes, particularly in underserved areas like Clarksburg, is the next step in advancing our climate goals and ensuring that all students and families are connected. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, for your public testimony today. This public hearing is now closed. Our next agenda item is item number 6, is a public hearing on the resolution to approve an amendment to the FY 25-30 Capital Improvement Program and Supplemental Appropriation 26-18 to the FY 26 Capital Budget, Montgomery County Government Department of Transportation, Gaithersburg Transportation Improvements, in the amount of over $11.6 million. The source of funds is impact tax funds. A Transportation Environment Committee work session will be scheduled for a later date. Those wishing to submit material for the council's consideration should do so by the close of business on October 9th, 2025. We have one speaker. The mayor of Gaithersburg, Judge Ashman, is with us today, and I will turn it over to the mayor.
Thank you all, council member friends. Good to see all of you. I'm going to be very brief. This resolution before you represents the culmination of more than a decade's worth of negotiation to free up money that's been sitting in an account and could not be spent without the consent of both the county and the city. It's been a long time coming, and I'm happy we're sort of at the 1 yard line, and we're hoping you guys can get us over that goal line. I want to thank all of you for your consideration. I want to particularly thank Councilmember Sidney A. Katz, who helped us with negotiation. I want to publicly thank our county executive, Mark Elrich, who worked with us very closely on this negotiation as well. The money is going to go to fund critical projects both in the city of Gaithersburg and Montgomery County. I think we're all going to come out better for it, and I appreciate the consideration. And while I'm at it, I want to return the favor to Paula Ross and express our city's strong support for the Up-County Transportation Study. And with that, thank you all very much.
Thank you very much. All right, that public hearing is now closed. Agenda item number 7 is a public hearing on the FY27 WSSC water spending control limits. A Transportation Environment Committee work session is scheduled for October 6, 2025. Those wishing to submit material for the council's consideration should do so by the close of business today. There are no registered speakers for this hearing. The public hearing is now closed. Item 8 is a public hearing and action on a resolution to approve supplemental appropriation 26-3 to the FY26 operating budget Montgomery County Public Schools System of Professional Learning Grant in the amount of $323,995. In the source of the funds or state grant money. The council action is scheduled immediately following this hearing. There are no registered speakers for this hearing. The public hearing is now closed. We'll now move on to the action portion of this item. I'm not seeing any comments or questions. Is there a motion to approve supplemental appropriation 26-3?
So moved.
Councilmember Lukey moved. Councilmember Sal seconded. All those in favor, please raise your hand. And that's unanimous. All right, item number 9 is a public hearing and action on a resolution to approve supplemental appropriation 26-7 to the FY26 operating budget, Montgomery County Government, State's Attorney's Office, Maryland Governor's Office of Crime Prevention and Policy, Competitive Victims of Crime Act Award in an amount of over $649,000. The source is a state grant. Council action is scheduled immediately following this hearing. There is no registered speakers for this hearing. The public hearing is now closed. We'll move on to the action portion of this item. Do I have a motion for supplemental appropriation 26-7? Councilmember Katz moved. Council Vice President Jawando seconded. All those in favor, please raise your hand. And that is unanimous. Those are all our items for today. The council is now adjourned. Thank you, everyone.